Here's how I turned this into this. Well, you're probably thinking, why did I choose to do this? It all started when I was looking up sandals on Urban Outfitters, and I came across these sandals. And I was like, okay, they're kind of cute, I guess. But then I was looking at the size guide, and it said for men's shoes only, and it was an Urban Outfitters exclusive. And they didn't have my size, so I decided to make my own pair. So I started by taping the edges to avoid getting paint on the fabric of the shoe. But then I removed the tape that I added, and I assumed that it was because the tape was old because it kept on peeling off during the process. So after I finished taping, I decided to call it a night and began working the next day. So I decided to use 320 grit sandpaper to prep my shoes because that was the first thing that showed up when I googled sandpaper for shoes. So here are the materials I used. So for the finisher, I used the Angelus matte acrylic finisher. And I used the Angelus Walk On Black bottom coat and restorer. And for the paint brushes, I got these random nylon brushes from Daiso. They came in about 5 different sizes, so I thought that would be pretty convenient. So then I began the process of painting the shoes. When I first began painting the shoe, the paint would refuse to adhere onto the spiky bits. So I would recommend using a good adhesion promoter. Or another option is just sanding the crevices very well, because I'm pretty sure I did not thoroughly sand the spiky parts of the shoe. And here's what the shoe looked like after the first coat of paint. You could tell that this paint didn't really stick to the spiky parts of the shoe, and I was just hoping it would get better after multiple layers. So here's a series of clips of me adding multiple layers. One thing I did while painting was that I waited 30 minutes to an hour between the coats, even though on the website, the Angelus website, it said to wait 15 to 30 minutes, but I just wanted to be safe. once I got to the 5th layer, I was able to cover the whole entire shoe with the Walk On Black paint. Thinking back on it, I should have stopped at the 6th layer because I know that if I added more layers, it would be more prone to peeling. So this could have been a mistake made on my part, but I realized that when I picked off the shoe from the table, I peeled off a bit of the paint. Once I reached the 8th layer, I decided to focus on higher impact areas like the ends of the spikes and the front and heel of the shoe. So once I finished adding the 8th layer, I decided to let it dry overnight and work on it the next day. So I noticed the walk-on paint by itself was very shiny, so I decided that it would be very important to add the matte finisher to it. I chose a wider brush for the matte finisher. A common problem I saw in the reviews were people complaining about the matte finisher turning out too shiny, so in order to solve that you had to shake the bottle. So I noticed when I was using a brush to apply the finisher, it was leaving a lot of air bubbles. So this is what the shoe looked like after one layer of matte finisher applied. So I noticed that it was still slightly shiny, like the change was not drastic at all. So I was hoping that if I continued to add layers, it would give a more matte effect. As I was adding the finisher, it wouldn't really stick to the previous layer of finisher. I'm not really sure what caused that, but I'm pretty sure you could layer it. Okay, obviously the noise it made was very squeaky, and I'm pretty sure it was because of the layers of paint I put on. While I was at the store, I realized that the paint on the heel was starting to chip. Then it got slightly worse. I'm assuming it's just the way I walk, or maybe even the layers of paint I added, because I did add a lot. Anyways, I decided to check on the bottom of the shoes, and obviously I noticed that the paint would peel off in the higher impact areas like the spikes and the heel, so it wasn't very much of a surprise to me, and I knew that eventually after time of walking on these spots, they would just peel away naturally. And at the end of the day, I cared more about the side profile of the shoes, but I just thought it would make sense to paint the whole bottom of the shoe. So I'm going to address the mistakes I made. The first mistake I made was not using a proper adhesion promoter like SEM Sandfree or Sandfree. So I noticed that when I first started painting, the spikes were having like a tough time adhering to the paint. So the second mistake I made was adding too many layers. In total I added 8 base layers and 4 top coats, and I know that adding too much paint made the shoes more prone to peeling, so next time maybe I should lay off adding so many layers. So the last mistake I made was the finisher I used. It wasn't as matte as I hoped it to be, and also it was definitely not made for the outsole. So I shook it like the instructions said to, and it still would not come out matte. It was still slightly shiny, honestly. I specifically chose the products in this video because they're on Amazon, so I'm gonna link all those down below. Thanks for watching. I hope this video was helpful for anybody who was looking for information.